Now, let's make more sense of this and really understand what this bailout stands for and if it's really been able to achieve what the government set out to achieve. Now, a development economist, Emeka Okengo, joins me from Abuja, while the Chief Executive Officer of Cowrie Assets Limited, Mr. Johnson Chukwu, joins me live here in Lagos. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
Okay, let me start from Abuja. Mr. Okengo, now, looking at these figures, talking about bailouts, in your terms, do you see this as a step in the right direction, government bailing out states?
It is heart-wrenching. It is heart-rendering. I don't want to use the word despicable, but I think it's very close to it. But I think we've all gotten it wrong. What we've done all this time, all these years, is that we throw money at problems. Okay, we've not been able to develop a proper system that will interrogate, what these monies are supposed to do, where they are supposed to be going to, and then you will now have what you might be able to call an investment program, even those that you're using, in the payment of your emoluments. Okay, but what it is we do is that the federal government was able to put their own together by initiating what they call the IPPIS, which I thought should have been replicated at the subnational levels if they were supposed to be, also applying these funds, okay, to states. But I'm yet to see any state that's been able to, implement or present or develop the integrated payment system that now allows monies to be tracked or traced. That's one. Two, what we also do at the state, at the subnational level, even at the federal level, is that we now chase what we call ministry projects as capital projects, okay? We've not been able to develop, what you can call a holistic framework that can be able to tie the activities of the subnationals, especially in key areas, that can be able to, help the country get back onto the trajectory of development, which will be food production. Like I keep arguing, agriculture is not a very popular word with me, okay, which is the development of skills, which is implementation or development or establishment of cottage industries. Because we are not doing these things, my brother, what we're just simply doing is that money comes in, and then in fact, the state government tell you that they have capital projects A, capital projects B, capital projects A to Z. All of them not relating to anything, that can help us get out of the woods that I think we're sinking, or the quicksand that actually, consuming the polity as it were.
Okay, let me ask Mr. Johnson Chukwu. Mr. Johnson Chukwu, we had bailout 1, bailout 2, and also the Paris Fund refund. Now, does this further solidify that fact or that argument that we run a kind of feeding bottle kind of system, government, when you talk about going to Abuja to always pick funds for state governments to actualize or carry out their day-to-day activities?
Well, yes, it's part of validates the fact that the federal system we are running is not very sustainable. But beyond that, it also highlights the fact that we do not have adequate checks and balances at the state level. If you look at what happened in the case of the bailout, because there are two different types of funds we are talking of. You have the entitlement of the states, which is the Paris Club refund, which is excess deduction from their statutory allocations that was used, set aside for payment of the Paris Club. But when the Paris Club debt forgiveness was received, then part of that money needs to be refunded back to the state. So that is their entitlement. But when you talk of the issue as it relates to the bailout fund, that's a different thing entirely. That is a gratuitous loan that was granted by the federal government to the state. And one of the things that was missing was there were not enough conditionalities that were imposed on the states to ensure that the monies were increased and went into the payment of salaries and pension arrears. So you realize that several states, more than 70 states, are still owing arrears of salaries and pension after receiving a total of 1.875 trillion naira from the federal government. And that's where the challenge is. Because one, there were no enough conditionalities. They were asked to use the money to pay salaries and wages, but the money was moved into the operating account. It should have been refunded and then paid based on the arrears of wage bill of each of the states. So one, the State House Assembly, which we are the organ of government that should have monitored the executive to ensure that this money was applied for the purpose which they were meant, did not have the wherewithal, and now seem to be an appendage of the executive. And that is part of the problems we have in a current democracy, where the legislature is a fusion of the legislature and the executive at the state level. And for that reason, the checks and balances, the segregation of duties or functions that are embedded in the Constitution are not being practiced in reality. And the executive will naturally do whatever they want to do because the legislature has been castrated. And that's the challenge we have in the current democratic situation we have now.
Okay, Mr. Baker, Mr. Johnson just talked about checks and balances because we still have states that have institutions shut down. We have states saying that months they've not received salaries and allowances. We know of Kogi State that lately also got another 30.8 billion naira bailout fund that actually got knocks comments from all and sundry. Now, would you say that's the reason why the states are not performing up to what is expected?
No, you can't be talking about checks and except you're talking about checks and balances at the level of a subnationals. I don't think there's any state now that operates without a House of Assembly. I don't think there's anyone that operates without ESCOs. If they are far and in between. Again, it's important for you to know that the federal government is very limited in what extent it can be able to checkmate states, okay, legally. Because the moment the State House of Assembly, passes bills, then the state executive at that level can be able to go ahead and do what it is they want to do. That's why I keep talking about, I remember again that you have what you call the concurrent, and exclusive list. You cannot be talking about, except those things that fall under the concurrent list, and even at that, it is not even compelling. Okay, so we don't have anything in our statutes that allows the federal systems or federal government to begin to monitor the expenditure at the level of the states. The least or the best they can do is that when there is a reason to go and investigate that public funds have been misapplied or misappropriated or stolen, then that is only when federal agencies can intervene. And usually it is not at the level of project preparation. It is at the level of now a crime or a fraud being committed. And remember again that you're also, by law, the governors are protected. Okay, they are protected by immunity while they are in office. So a lot of this chasing around these monies that have always been misapplied or mismanaged or taken away now does not even happen until the person probably is in office. And then you now come in to look at the technicalities of our law. Because most of these monies that are taken away by these people are monies that are being passed, by people who are empowered, by law to pass it. So it's difficult to actually now even at the level of chasing a fraud that seemingly has been committed to do much. The point is that we must be able to look at the way we interrelate, the way the subnationals and the federal systems relates. That is the only way. We must be able to build a new attitude to it. It's not enough for you to say, oh, because you don't have a state assemblies functioning, when they function, to what extent are they able to rein in the executive? Okay, and you're talking about maybe what you call the lowest levels, which are the local government levels. The government has talked about a local government autonomy. Everybody is fighting it. Nobody wants it to happen. And nobody is now, giving excuses or giving the reasons why it shouldn't happen. Now, even when it does happen, are the local governments also, independent of the control, exclusive and total control of the state governments? So these are the questions, these are the issues.
Big questions there, begging for answers.
For answers. So that's where we have issues, my brother.
Okay, Mr. Kenga, let me ask Mr. Johnson this. Mr. Johnson, let's delve into issues of internally generated revenues, which states are supposed to generate internally, just as it stands. Aside from Lagos and other states that are performing well, we can see other states are not doing really well. I think they need to look inwards more. Many are talking about this. How does this come to you?
When you start, the first question you asked me is that does this validate the feeding bottle allegation that our federal system is a feeding bottle system? That's one of the challenges we have. And let me tell you, the reality is that if we run a federal system of government, and the federating units should be semi-autonomous, they should generate their own revenue and then incur their costs. They cannot be going to the federal government cap in hand every month to collect federation allocation. Once you continue to do that, you cannot have you can't really have a real federal system of government. So what is happening now is that because the state governments are assured of allocations of multiples of billions every month, they have no compelling need to look inwards to develop their resources so as to earn revenue internally. And reality, if you look at what happens elsewhere in the world, a state government will build a road to a factory so that the factory can employ people and can produce, so that the state government will earn tax income from the employees of that factory. A state government will make sure there's stable power supply, that security is available in their state, so that people will come and live there, engage in economic activities, earn income, pay taxes, so that the state government will earn enough revenue to continue to run its operation. Here, the reverse is the case. Because the state governments are not deriving their income from internally generated revenue, they have no compelling need to give back to the society. They have no compelling need to build the infrastructure that will support such revenue generation. The few exceptions you have, like the Lagos state you mentioned, and the few other states that have reasonable level of revenue generation. States like those states have seen material improvement in the internal revenue generation. States like Rivers, that basically because it's an oil-dependent economy, that earns a lot of income revenue from taxes related to oil activities. But beyond that, you find that most states are not fiscally sustainable because the state governors have failed to look inward to build the infrastructure and economy that will support revenue generation, because they are assured that at the end of every month they will go to the Abuja, send their commissioners of finance to Abuja and get applications. So we need to address that. And the bailout that the government granted only worsened this, because it means there's a big brother there or there's a big father there. So the governors have all become prodigal sons. They go and frit away the resources and then come back begging for more. So we need to address that.
All right, Mr. Johnson Chukwu, Chief Executive Officer, Career says, thank you very much for your time indeed. All right, also Mr. Okengo there, live from Abuja studios. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us on this very important topic. We'll expect that states and also pensioners, salary workers will receive their wages as at when the